Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Now, since devotion is orientation with God and direction towards God, the efficacy of devotion will depend on our relationship with God. As bodily creatures, we are always using God as the other, someone to secure goods for us, bodily goods, and to dispel evil from us, bodily evil from us. The same goes with paradise and hell, as we have stated often, that we only want God there to secure us in the hereafter and to repel and dispel the evil that is potentially there. But then that does not allow the soul to truly yield to God as God. It's using God as the other. Devotion to God becomes a means for us securing our own goods. There's a level of devotion in which God needs to be revered. He needs to be respected very deeply. Now, this reverence and respect for God cannot be imposed arbitrarily or artificially within the soul. The soul has to feel the presence of God, and it needs to tremble in the awe of God. And the heart needs to melt in the love of God. And the eyes need to tear at the feeling of God's touch. And this happens slowly and gradually. But this is an ideal state where we have to be at, where there's so much reverence for God. There is so much respect for God. There is such acute understanding of the presence of God that our actions and our thoughts are monitored by us, and we become vigilant of what we are thinking, what we are doing, what we are saying. At this point here, then, good deeds are not done for the sake of any gain or any reward. They are done for the sake of, because my God expects me to do this, and I respect Him and I will do this. Evil deeds will not ensue from us, not because of any fear of what might happen, but because it is disrespectful to my God. I revere my God to this extent. So in fiqh books you find these sort of examples, that when a case is brought against a very dignified soul, and the dignified person is brought to the court, and the only way they can counter the charge is by taking an oath in the name of God. But they hesitate to take the oath in the name of God. Now that should not be used against them if their hesitation is due to their deep respect and reverence of God. That how may I use the name of my God, the majestic one, in vain? I would much rather take the punishment and be blamed falsely than to disrespect the name of my beloved God. For He is too mighty. There is too much reverence for Him for me to reduce Him to that level of involving Him within a worldly oath. So when the judge discerns that this noble soul is hesitant to utter the name of God due to the reverence of God and not wanting to belittle God, then that should not go against that person. So the respect of God should be so firm within the heart that the heart begins to lose itself, and in the reverence of the beloved, just be overpowered by the beloved. It is here also that we bring to mind the statement of the Prophet, in which he talks about ihsan. We have spoken about this. Ihsan means to know that God is present, that every act is conducted in the presence of God. But deeper than that, in the reverence of God, is to not to question God and His discretion. Here, the whole calculation in the mind that my God knows me better than I know myself, knows what is good for me better than I know what is good for me, and what is bad for me He knows better than I do. and therefore I should trust his discretion and not question him. Here, the state in devotion is slightly different, that I revere my God to such an extent that I do not even want to think that he knows what is better for me. I am just overawed by the presence of my God. Oh Lord, whatever you do, make it acceptable for me. As Hussein says, Salamullah alayhi, and he is saying this at the peak of his union with God in his dua Arafah. He is no longer making these worldly, bodily calculations that you know what is better for me, so I should trust you. He says no. He is at a different stage. He says, oh Allah, bring me to a place in my journey to you. Make me yield to you to such a level that I do not plead to you for you to change any of your destiny. I accept everything as you have decreed and decided. Not because it's good for me, but because it is from you. And if it is from you, then I'm surrendered in front of you, O God. Thus, O Lord, allow me not to beg you to postpone a destiny that you have decided to hasten to me. And allow me not to plead to you to hasten a destiny that you have decided to postpone. O Lord, you know my state. You know what I want and what I do not want. But, O Lord, I leave it in your hands and in your discretion. And with your discretion, do whatever you want. To come to that level, when the soul begins to yield it to God through reverence of God, then truly the captive inside is being liberated. The captive inside is no longer using God as a means for his own self, but he is inviting God deep from within himself by giving himself away. The reverence of God not only humbles the soul, but reverence of God is a sign of a humbled soul, that the soul is so humble that the all-powerful, overwhelming majesty of God is effacing every last trace of that soul. So as the Blessed Prophet had said, that I do not feel confident that I will attain paradise through my good deeds. It will only be the mercy of my Lord that takes me to paradise. To have that level of reverence of God in which to say to God, O Lord, if it is not pleasing to you, then keep me away from it, for I do not want to disrespect you. I would rather go to hell, but to disappoint you. It is said in a hadith that God will summon the creature, the children of Adam, and say, do you really mean what you say, that you love me and respect me more than your own self, than your own goods? And the son of Adam will say yes. He will say that in that case, go and jump into the inferno. And that will be the moment of test where the child of Adam reveals himself to himself. If a soul truly respects Allah, then he will jump into the fire. But obviously, the hadith says Allah will never allow such a thing. It will just be something that Allah would want to reveal the son of Adam to himself by that question. Whereas Ali says, O Lord, even if I'm subjected to the fire, even if it burns me, as unbearable as it is, I will bear it. But how will I bear separation from you? Your absence, O Lord. How will I bear that? I suppose these are the signs of the final stages of the effacement of the soul, and when the soul begins to yield to Allah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.